everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about vaccines, and not only about just vaccines, but the core vaccines every puppy or dog should have. Before we start talking about particular vaccines that we should give our pets, I want to first talk about the general vaccine. So what are vaccines? Vaccines are substances that we give to a body to stimulate an immune response, to create antibodies against this particular antigen. And there's so many diseases in this world that honestly, it's hard to keep up, but there's definitely some that are core. So number one core vaccine for dogs is Distemper. And Distemper is an RNA virus that can be transmitted by secretions and excretions, which means that it could be by the mucus of the nose of an animal, or it can even be by urine. So when you are outside walking your dog in the park, keep in mind that our dogs are exposed to all these things all the time. So the clinical signs for distemper virus could be fever, vomiting, coughing, oculonasal discharge, some myoclonus, which is involuntary movement of the muscles, and paresis. Puppies are definitely the most vulnerable to this virus, so if you have a puppy, please take care of them and make sure they are vaccinated before going outside and playing with others. So how do we prevent distemper virus? Distemper virus can be easily prevented with just a vaccine. So when your puppy is about 6 to 8 weeks old, make sure to vaccinate them. And then you're supposed to give a booster, a puppy booster, every 3 to 4 weeks. So when you do, you're gonna keep doing that till they're about 16 weeks old, and then you can just give it annually. So it's very important that you protect your puppy because this is definitely preventable. So core vaccine number 2 is Adenovirus Type 1. Adenovirus Type 1 is a DNA virus that is the common cause of hepatitis. This virus can be shed not only by direct contact animal to animal, but also by exposure to feces, to secretions of other animals that are infected. Some of the clinical signs of adenovirus 1 are fever, neck and head edema, lethargy, vomiting, diarrhea, icterus, coagulopathies, and also DIC, which is disseminated intravascular coagulation, along with some nephropathies. These are only a few of the clinical signs, but adenovirus will definitely attack the liver of this poor animal. So it's important for us to avoid this. Avoid by vaccinating. Just like the other vaccine, you start the vaccines, the puppy vaccines, from 6 to 8 weeks, and then you keep boostering until they're about 16 weeks. After that, you just vaccinate on your annual, and then you keep vaccinating every year. Third puppy core vaccine is Parvo virus. Parvo is a DNA virus that is highly contagious. Anyone that has smelled the Parvo knows what I'm talking about. So Parvo can be transmitted to any other animal by urine or defecations or just fomites, which means that we could be fomites. So right now, if I'm your veterinarian and I'm working with this puppy that has Parvo and I don't wash my hands, and then I go and see your puppy that's not vaccinated, your puppy's gonna get Parvo. So we humans can act as fomites, and all of our stuff too, our shoes, if we go into a place that definitely has Parvo, shelter, or anywhere that is in contact with feces, urine, or even just the Parvo DNA virus, then you are carrying it. And when I say you're carrying it, it doesn't mean that you have it. You're just literally a vector and you're taking it to places. So any puppy that's not vaccinated around these fomites are definitely gonna get it. Puppies that get Parvo show clinical signs of something that's called the puppy fading syndrome, which basically they whine, they cry, they have bloody diarrhea, they vomit, they are just a mess, they have a high fever, and they get really dehydrated. As this is so highly contagious, I highly recommend that you vaccinate your puppy as soon as possible for this, the earliest being 6 weeks to 8 weeks, and then you keep boostering every 3 to 4 weeks. And it's very important as a puppy because the mortality is so high. Like, I've seen so many puppies go in shelters and in other circumstances just because it wasn't vaccinated. Remember that even though puppies are the most predisposed to this virus and are the ones that get mostly affected, adults can get it too. So make sure to keep doing that annual Parvo vaccine along with the others. Fourth, and to me most important core vaccine that a dog should get is rabies. Rabies is an RNA virus that is super important, not only because it could kill your animal, but because it could kill you. Rabies affects all warm-blooded mammals, which means that that's raccoons, that's dogs, that's cows, that's cats, that's us. So rabies is usually transmitted by saliva, and that's usually by a bite. So you are in the street and a crazy dog that you've never seen before comes at you and bites you, you should probably make sure that that dog had its rabies vaccine and that you go to the doctor. Because if you get rabies, you could die. basically. So how do you know if a dog has rabies? Here's the thing. Rabies can present in two ways. It could be the furious form or it could be the paralytic form. In the furious form, they're gonna be really aggressive. They're gonna try to bite you. They're very like sensitive to noises, to lights, and they will be super aggressive. So, and that's kind of like the one that we imagine when we think rabies, but not all of them look like that. Because there's also the paralytic form. In the paralytic form, they kind of look like dumb, and their jaw is locked and they can't drink, or they don't want to drink water, and then they're salivating and they're just being weird. And the sad part about it is that after that they usually go into coma and they die, and it's a really ugly death, and I really hope we can eradicate this disease at some point. A lot of countries are rabies free, and that's honestly the ultimate goal because it's such a scary virus, and the US is not one of them, and that's why it's so important to vaccinate. So if you have any of these animals, please, please, please make sure they're vaccinated. This vaccine you can start giving at about 12 weeks of age, and then it's super important that you give every single year. I'm pretty sure it's enforced by law in the whole United States. I know there's particular laws and depending on the state where you're on, and even the county. So definitely look into that if you're planning to have a puppy. If you have a puppy, if you have a dog or any animal, rabies vaccine is the way to go. And remember, it's not only the way to go because of your animal safety, but also because we can get infected. It is known that more than 55,000 people die annually because of rabies in other countries, and maybe not in the US, but it's definitely a problem that we have to address, and together, if we all vaccinate, we could probably eradicate this. So in conclusion, I am now in my second week of small animal primary care, and I've been practicing vaccinating and talking to owners about the importance of vaccinations for a week and a little bit more now. And it's very impressive how a lot of people do know a lot about vaccines and some people don't, and it's very important for us to educate other people about these diseases and these vaccines because they're real and we can definitely prevent them. So it's very, very important that if you know anyone that has animals, make sure that they're vaccinated. Those 4 vaccines we talked about are the 4 that are considered core here, but there's definitely more vaccines for other diseases that are not considered core, but they're as important. For example, the lepto, the para-influenza, the bordetella, these are all very important vaccines as well, and I encourage you all to ask your veterinarian if your dog should get those. It is known that vaccine reactions could occur, and there's also vaccination failures due to maternal antibodies, fever, systemic illness, or even failure of administration. But it's still so worth it to protect your animals from these diseases. Remember, you're just stimulating their immune system to produce antibodies to protect themselves from these diseases that are so horrible. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you guys for following me throughout this crazy journey called vet school. I am not a vet yet, but I will be one very soon, and I love communicating with you guys and letting you guys know what's new and what I'm learning and just keeping you guys up to date with my life. So thank you so much again, and I'll see you guys later.